Buenos dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it. You already know. Like a torta with some bad habits. Bye. Bye. Let's get straight to that intro. Welcome back to the channel. And if you haven't already hit that like and subscribe button, make sure you go ahead and do that. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directed in the direction of the dope content that the gun stays kicking. And I appreciate your support, man. I'm very humbled by it. Well. What do we have here? Operation Dead End, right? And I ain't gonna lie, when I seen this operation go down, when I seen pictures, when I heard about it, it jumped out at me. And it jumped out at me for one particular reason, because I actually once claimed a neighborhood called Dead End Locals, Dead End out of the west side of Merced. So immediately when it was sent to me by the homeboy and I clicked on it, my heart dropped, because immediately I thought, damn, they done got the homies, right? Anytime there's an operation in the city of Merced, to the fullest, I always think, damn, I know a lot of the homeboys from the past, their families, very personally, right? I know their cousins, their aunts, their uncles, their grandparents, their mothers and fathers. These are the peoples I function with every day. And so even though I'm not involved in the gang lifestyle, and I understand that one day this is coming to everyone who is actively involved in the criminal lifestyle, it still hurts your heart to think of what they're going to go through, because you have to remember, when you do time and you do crime, your family suffers along with you. But it wasn't Merced. It was actually Salinas, California, the city of Salinas. And they basically targeted, law enforcement targeted one particular gang, one particular group. And that's the Acosta Plaza gang members out of Salinas, which is slowly, or I could say quickly, becoming probably the most deadliest neighborhood or known neighborhood in the city of Salinas. Back in my days, it was always Salinas y Marqueta, the Semsters, or the Casitas boys. You know, those were the ones that you were hearing about a lot. There was a lot of tension, a lot of friction going on with Fremont and Casitas back in the days in the Semsters. And these were the gangs that were popping. And then somewhere in the 2000s, another group sprung up. They might have been around already, but they started to make noise, and that was the Bahamas. And they had rappers, the Salineros, out of that area. So they were kind of putting people on the map. Big Rome and, of course, Yance, and these guys were repping the city of Salinas. And people were hearing about Salas. But if you're from Northern California, you understand that Salinas has always been the Mecca. It is the Brown House, where you have the White House in Washington, D.C., and you have the Capitol building in Sacramento. In California, Salinas was the Brown House, right? It was the Mecca of all Norteno business. And it's always been like that. Anyone that knows, knows. Now, for them to target the Acosta Plaza gang, there must have been a lot of things that have went on. This was a joint operation, Operation Dead End, that happened in collaboration with a lot of different law enforcement agencies, Monterey County sheriffs. Of course, you had the local police out of Salinas, California, the FBI, the DEA. All these joint task force came together to form one game task force and watch these guys and comb over every single crime that they have done. Anytime you're a member of a gang or a group, anything you do, whether it's stealing a payday fucking candy bar or a murder, it's going to be put in that C file, put in that G file. And what's going to happen? They're going to utilize that for a RICO against everybody, because they're going to say you stole that fucking payday candy bar, not because you were starving like Marvin, but because you did it at the benefit of the gang. Even if it was 49 cents and you're wearing a 49er jersey, you're going to get 49 fucking years. That's just how it goes, right? This operation was cold, calculated, and planned out. And like I tell gang members all the time, you never know when it's coming, but guaranteed and most definitely it is coming. They are not slowing down. They continuously watch these gang members. And like I said, every little crime that is committed, they are going to put on that file and add that to that RICO case. Now, in the case of this one, they are charged with over, or have been investigated at looking at over 11 murders, numerous attempted murders, and several other charges. Now, they arrested 9 people locally on the streets, and several of the guys that they have charged were also incarcerated at the time. This happened the other day, and best believe, man, law enforcement they've dotted their I's, crossed their T's. They're on these cats. You know, you can only get away with gang banging and going out there hitting motherfuckers for so long before they shut down your shop. You know, the city of Salinas, because it is the mecca of Norteños, because all Norteños know that's where a lot of the business stems from. Believe me, law enforcement knows just as much, sometimes even more than that gang member. You know, I'm going to tell you guys a couple stories, but before we get to that, this operation that they conducted where they arrested several gang members, people are like, good, they're clearing the streets. But you can cut the head off the snake all you want, and one's going to grow back immediately. This is not going to stop anything. This is just a dent or a fracture to a bone that is already overgrown. Okay, the gang members on the streets are going to continue to thrive. They're going to continue to add. You know, there's never subtraction, only addition in the gang lifestyle. You know, you can subtract someone who isn't worthy or is no longer deemed good in the cause, and there's 3 or 4 motherfuckers lined up to take their position in their spot. Everyone is striving for status. Everyone is striving for clout. Everyone is striving for recognition within the gang. So best believe there's people lined up right now to take that position. It's just the way it is. Doesn't matter who they arrest. Doesn't matter how many gang members they get off the streets. For some reason, they are very much replenished immediately. That's just the unfortunate part about gang banging. That's something you need to know, that if you got gang members in your community and you're like, damn, I live in the Acosta Plaza area, man, I'm glad they got these guys. These guys were dangerous. They were treacherous. There was a lot going on behind the scenes. And believe me, there's a lot going on behind the scenes that they haven't even been arrested for. People were like probably cheering in the back of their house. They ain't gonna say nothing. They're looking through the mini blinds like, yeah, they got him. They got him. Well, guess what? They didn't get him, though. Your own child is already influenced. See, when you live in a gang-populated area that's infested with that type of mentality and propaganda, guess what's going to happen? Others that are weak-minded, or others that can't think for themselves, or others that are just intrigued, like I was, by the simplicity of what the gang was doing and what the founding fathers had put down, the clecha, the education. You know, I didn't look at it when I was a gang member as I want to wear the gold chains and I want to drive the nice car and I want the beautiful women. None of that rocked my boat. But it was the fact that respect. These guys were respected amongst each other, and I wanted their respect more than I wanted my family's, more than I wanted yours, more than I wanted anything. I wanted my homeboy to say, hey, that's fucking cool, eh? Chicana, you turn. That's what I wanted. And I did that for many years, and it took an eye-opening experience to realize that it was all for nothing. For myself. Now, I'm not here to spread poison. I'm not here to stop anyone from gang banging. That's not my job. That's your father's job and your father's father's job, right? But my job as a civilian, as a person out here, is to make sure that in my household, my children are aware of not only what the gang looks like, but what it really is. Okay? And I'm going to tell them from my experience. Now, these guys that are arrested are going to go through some motions now. Now they're going to have several charges, and there will be a lot that get out. You know, every time there's these big RICO operations and people are charged, there's not, now remember, this Operation Dead, not everyone is being charged with the RICO. I think there are 9 individuals that are being charged with the RICO. The rest are being charged with state charges, and then more charges to come. Because what they're going to do is, as they sit people down and start to interview them, you know, they're going to do the Adam 16. They're going to pick their brains and get them to say everything. And when they get some guys to flip, which I guarantee somebody's going to flip if they haven't already, that's the reason why they were able to finally make arrests, because people flip in the first place, right? But once they get the flip-floppers to do the flipper, guess what happens? They charge more people. They take away more kids by CPS. They fuck more families up. And guess what? It just is what it is, because at the same time, these are the type of things that you got to be ready for. You got to be prepared for. If you're out there gangbanging, this comes with that life. Now, a lot of those guys are going to be hardcore when they get to the county jail. They're going to get right with the program and function. And for a little while, they're going to be like, it just is what it is, and chalk it up to the game until their old lady starts fucking their homeboy, until their old lady won't answer the call or send money for packages. And when these things start to happen and they start to compile, that's when people are going to be like, damn, I still want to get out. Right? Shoot gang, right? The people are going to want to get out. I already know because I've seen it happen many a times. There's people that are improperly educated into the plights of what it is to do time. They know what it is to gangbang. They even know what it is to kill you or your child. They know what it is to do a lot of this, but they don't know what it is to do tiempo, time, because doing time takes a different type of mentality. It takes a mindset where you know you're not going anywhere and this is what you have. And if you could deal with that, then you got it. And if you can't, bye-bye. They're going to roll it up. They're going to check in. And guess what that means? That all that means is they're going to get moved to another yard in another cell, but they're still going to be locked up. You know, people think, man, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to fucking PC up. Okay, well, you're still doing it, stupid. Now you're just doing it with a whole bunch of riffraff. That's it. The mentality must be, I want to change my mindset and I want to help others around me that are deep in the game to change their mindset. And if you're a strong voice and a well-respected homie, then you could do that. But that don't just start while incarcerated. It's already too late. They're already stuck on their status. You need to start that from the streets. Obviously, because Salinas is so gang-oriented and so gang-infested, man, it's hard for our children that are out there to see that. There's no voices out there saying, hey, homie, do good, go to school, get a good job. Instead, everyone's saying, hey, caile, homie. You know what I'm saying? The water's just fine, but the water isn't. There's sharks in them water, and they're not from Sanjo. Let me explain something to you. When this operation went down, a lot of families are affected. And a lot of families are going to continue to be affected because there's going to be people that flip, and they're going to point the fingers at their own homeboys, and they're going to take their homeboys down. I remember when Operation Valley Star happened in the Merced area, Merced County. And that was a big one. And I remember I was able to wiggle on that operation by the skin of my teeth, not saying that I did any crime that was in any form or fashion related to that operation. But let's just say I was around during them times and I was seeing things that, you know, were happening. And I happened to just caught my case to go to prison. I caught a 4-year case for an assault. I went into a bar, I beat some dropout up. And that was that. That's the facts and the truth. At that time I was active, and that's what I was actively doing. Looking for dropouts, degenerates, people that were against the grain, and getting off where I was mad at. I wasn't out there stealing cars. I wasn't out there spray painting. I wasn't out there fucking trying to fucking steal from a torta's house. I wasn't doing any of that. I was out there aggressively looking for people that have dropped out of the Norteno gang and getting off where I'm mad at. Wow, what a difference a day makes, right? But that was my thing. That's what I was focused on because that's what I wanted to focus on. I wasn't being told to focus on this. This was something in the initiative that I took because I felt it was going to gain me status within the gang. I thought people were going to be like, damn, the homie don't play. He's super duper active. But you know what they said when I got to prison? Hey, homie, here's a little piece of soap, a little piece of deodorant. And do you need a sopa? Because we only got a few left. If you don't really need one, homie, then you know what I'm saying? Then you just say chale. I was like, fuck, I need a caja. They're like, yeah, that ain't going to happen, right? Store wasn't storing. The math wasn't mathing. So I had to go in there and struggle with the rest of the homeboys. And I thought it was a beautiful thing, the beautiful struggle. But when you're starving at night and when you're working out all day and when you can't sleep during the day because your mattress is rolled and ain't nothing but hard-ass concrete and hard dick and soft bubble gum, right? Then you realize, you know, fuck, this is a different type of struggle, right? So anyways, that's what it was for me. But Operation Valley Star hit and a lot of people's lives changed. There's still people affected by that operation right now. So I could only imagine what's going on in the city of Salinas. Now, because Salinas is such a deadly place and so, like I said, gang infested with Norteños and even Southsiders and other groups, you know, best believe that law enforcement is always going to target them. They're always going to watch them because they believe that if they could shut Salinas down, then that's going to affect other regiments throughout the state of California. That's going to affect other Norteños that they feel function up under the city of Salinas. Now, nobody functions up under any city. And again, I'm not going to say too much because that's up to law enforcement to interpret and do their job. But I will say that them targeting these guys from Acosta Plaza is not going to stop. No, it's not going to stop. This was a 2-year-long investigation that they did. That's one thing about the feds and gang task force. They know exactly what's popping. They got informants. They got people telling them. And guess what? They're not going to come today or tomorrow. They're going to wait. They're going to wait till they have it locked down and locked in. And they have certain individuals within that gang that they're watching closely. They don't want the poop butts. They want the main character. They want the one running the organization. They want the one directing, shot calling, the one with major influence, the shooter, The person that they know is creating the most chaos for the streets is the one that they're going to get. And believe me, they're going to make sacrifices for their cause. They're going to let this other fucking J-Cat do as much crime as he wants to do or can do, so that way when they pop him, they can utilize all that against him, tell him that they're going to give him fucking Buck Rogers dates in buku's amount of time. You know what I'm saying? I said buku. Motherfuckers don't know what buku. Buku. YouTube buku. What movie is that off of? You guys don't know. Anyways, right? So they're offering these guys buku amounts of time. What do you think they're going to do? No, those the homie Jaime. You know, you don't know the homie Jaime. They call him Chewy. Yeah, what's his name? Fucking Jaime or Chewy? No, that's both his names. His name's Jaime Chewy, right? You know what I mean? That's how they do it. So these guys, man, are in for a lot. They're in for a penny, in for a pound, right? Which means they went in very cheap and they're going to come out rather expensive. You know, things that you do have rather large repercussions. You know, I seen this and like I said, my heart dropped. I thought it had something to do with the city of Merced. And look, I'm not for gang members being able to go out there and commit crime. I'm not saying, oh man, poor them, they got locked up. If you're committing murders, attempted murders, jacking people, ruining your community, scaring people, making it an environment where children can't play outside because bullets are raining down, then yes, your ass needs to go to jail. You need to understand and learn. You know, I always said that about a gang member. And I had little homies, they'd be this, oh man, fuck these fucking Southsiders, fuck this, fuck that, whoa. They'd say all this, right? So the gang, shout out to the Southsiders. But they'd say all this different shit. And I'd look at them, I said, bro, have you ever been locked up? Nah, fuck that, I ain't stupid. Nah, but you're sitting here stupidly talking about people that are locked up and talking about what you would do, bro, but you haven't done nothing yet. Until you are incarcerated, until you understand that plight and what that is and what that entails, and how to really be a Norteno in that real struggle, right? Until you can do that, you can't do this. You're bumping baking soda breath on the door, childless. I mean, that shit don't work, right? And a lot of those guys, I remember, that used to be all high power talking that bullshit, man. They stopped, changed their lives, rolled it up, went on the other side. A lot of them did that, never went anywhere, right? And I just chuckled to myself. I didn't even laugh, not full laugh, just a chuckle, right? Because I seen that coming. The loudest motherfucker in the room is usually the softest. Do you feel me? That motherfucker that's quiet in the corner that's doing his time right knows what the game is, or is at least adapted to the game. I was young myself, caught up in situations that I created and got locked up, and I was scared and I was young and I was misled and I misled myself, and I don't blame anyone else for anything that I ever done. I take full accountability and responsibility for being in and out of the gang. Like everything was me, the gun, right? And let me tell you right now, man, I didn't like it. I didn't agree with a lot of it. And at the end of the day, my disagreements, my trying to go by the reglas, the rules, the program, fucked my career over. Am I mad about it? Absolutely not. Because in God's time, not God's plan, but his time and his plan, right? It was time. It was time for me to see the bigger picture, which was I needed to stop focusing on trying to prove to dudes that didn't even care about me that I was cool, and stop trying to strive and do this, and start paying more attention to my children that I was out there making every time I got out of prison, right? These guys might not have the opportunity. A lot of these guys that got caught up in this RICO and in this Operation Dead End are young. But so is the plight of Salinas, right? When you're from the city of Salinas, California, this is to be expected. Now, if you think that the RICOs and the investigations and these joint operations are going to stop, no. And there's a reason why it is called Operation Dead End, for a number of reasons. One, because there was a clique that was called Dead End, but also even more so than that, because it's dead end. You're dead. The end. Done. They're going to shut down as many gangs and as many possibilities that they can. That's what law enforcement does. They're doing their jale because that's what the people, the community, society wants. People are tired of gangs. They're tired of senseless shootings. You know, it's getting crazier and crazier. Whereas back in my days, you know, there was a little bit of respect, a little bit of an honor amongst thieves. Now with the social media generation, it's different. Things have changed. People don't respect each other. People are consistently and constantly talking shit to each other, disrespecting each other online, disrespecting each other's fucking memorials and all that. And the reason being for that is because they care more about what other people see and hear rather than what it really is. And then when the ass gets when they get locked up, it's all bad. Now, this operation that happens is only the first domino of many, I'm sure, that are to come. People need to stay aware. I'm not saying, hey, man, get scared and jump out of the gang life because this is what you got coming. But, hey, if you're really a gang member, you're really about that business, understand that this is what you got coming. It just is what it is. Now, several of these guys that were arrested, like I said, were already incarcerated on other cases. And imagine, man, being in your cell, doing your time, having a few months left to the gate. Like, man, I'm going to get out. My old lady's ready. She done bought my parole package. I'm really doing these things. I'm wiggling, man. I'm living my best. I'm going to go out there, chill with the homies. The homies are throwing a party for me. And then guess what? Let me tell you how they do it in prison, because I've seen it happen many a times. They come to your cell. They tell you to back up, submit to restraints. You stick your hands out of that cuff port. Boom. They slap the cuffs on you. They take you down. There's some feds right there or some detectives. And guess what? You're now being charged with a RICO, or you're being charged with a murder, or you're being charged with this, and you ain't going nowhere. That's it. What you're going to do is go back to your cell, or they're immediately going to move you to the county jail so they can process you on the new charges. All your fucking canteen, all your property stays there with your cellie. Your cellie thinks you rolled it up, so he's eating all the honey buns, because all your cellie's telling all the homeboys is, hey, I don't know, bro. They pulled the homeboy out. He never came back. And you know what the Norteno movement is? This is how we think. This is how we used to think, right? This is how at least we thought back in our days. I don't know how they're doing it now, right? But back in our days, if you went to a medical call, if you went to visita, if you went anywhere where a homeboy wasn't present and you didn't come back in a due amount of time, guess what? More than likely, you rolled it up. You rolled it up and you're not coming back. And guess what? Free honey buns for everyone. Hopefully that homeboy had fat canteen and it's getting distributed and smashed by his cellie. And then when you do come back from court, nah, homie, they charged me. Hey, where's my honey buns, eh? That's all you hear. Anyways, with that being said, man, this is a crazy operation that went down in the city of Salinas, Operation Dead End. I was flabbergasted and surprised, but I wasn't real surprised because, like I said, Salinas is targeted. If you notice, a lot of the things that happen in Northern California, a lot of these operations happen in three places. Four. We'll get four. Fresno, always got some shit popping. Stockton, always got some shit popping. Little itty bitty, the city of Merced, where I'm from, always got some shit popping. And of course, Salinas stays popping. With that being said, thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive, struggle, and strive for what I truly believe in. That's the betterment of all people. Again, if you're watching my content to hear names of homeboys you might know and things like that, you're not going to get that. I'm not going to mention any of these guys' names that were caught up. I'm not going to read the lista. I'm not going to do any of that, man. All this stuff you could Google for yourself and look into. I'm just giving you my proper perspective, and I'm taking the initiative to tell you guys, this is what fucking happens when you're living that lifestyle. And we'll leave it like that. This video is sponsored by Barrio Liquors out there in Turlock, California. If you're in the area, go pull up, get you something cold to drink, man, and tell them the gun sent you. Just don't do nothing bad with my name in your mouth, man. That's all I got to say. Shout out to Barrio Liquors. Also by Sticks and Stones Yard Service out there in the state of Arizona, man. Google it. Get the number. Go pull up, man, and make a deal and get your shit hooked up. This is the gun. I feel sorry for all the families affected, man, by this joint operation. But I also feel more sorry for the families affected that are victims of what these guys did, allegedly. Bang, bang.